Hello, KMA friends, family, tribe, students, all you shiny, happy people that are watching this. I hope you are having a really positive and productive Friday so far. Fantastic Friday, we like to call it around here. Today already, spend the first couple hours of the day. I had some awesome personal and professional development, coffee time, which is also a piece of sharpening the sword for me because I get to talk to my beautiful bride, who is also very smart, Barbara, and we come up with all kinds of ideas. But it was with her, and plus we did some personal professional development of the deliberate where we were watching a course. And we talked about some things, and then I went off and I did my stretching session, and then I got in, had a meeting with my EA, and now I am in my creation time, my creative production time. And then I'm most excited about I get to meet my son, Sensei Winston, for an awesome workout here in just another 40 minutes or so. And I share all these things. After that, of course, I'll be back here and we're ready for fantastic Friday activities at Maga Martial Arts. But what I want to say is I share all those things not, to brag or boast on what I do, or even really to share it as much as a story on a tribulation I've had, on a challenge I've had, because as is my custom, I'm hoping that maybe some of you have the same challenges, and so therefore these thoughts can be useful to you. And so today's topic is focusing our focus, but specifically focusing our focus upon our own learning, and then focusing our focus upon our highest priorities. Because in the first, we live in a more distracted time than ever before. And so it can be hard just to figure out which voice to listen to, what to learn from. And then on the latter, if you have the same challenges as me, it's hard to get it all in. Sometimes it does seem as though there's not enough time. And sometimes it can even seem, not that it seems, because when this seems, it's very often because it's true, that our highest priorities fall victim to those that are less important. But I have gotten better in both of these things over the last, 30 years. And so I want to share a couple hacks that I use to get it all in. On the first one, on focusing what it is that we learn and getting in the amount of learning that we want. I call it sword sharpening, with a tip of the hat to Dr. Stephen Covey's 7th Habit of Highly Effective People, which, of course, is sharpening the saw. But as I am more of a warrior than a carpenter, around here we call it sword sharpening. And what it means is the personal and professional development that makes us better, makes us become the person worthy of our goals, and moves us in the direction of our goals and priorities. And the first thing I want to say about that is this. It's something that I teach my students here at Maga Martial Arts, and I want to share with you now. It's you know what you know, and sometimes you know what you don't know, but it's what you don't know that'll get you. And that's why sword sharpening is so important. Because in the analogy, by the way, as I said, I took Dr. Covey's saw sharpening analogy and turned it into sword sharpening because we're a martial arts school. But in his story, the point is this, that he comes upon this man who is sawing and sawing and sawing, trying to cut down this tree. And by the way, I've also heard the story with an axe, but in Dr. Covey's version, it's a saw. Whatever the tool or instrument is, the point of the story is that when the other character in the story says, "Hey, sir, why don't you take some time to sharpen that saw?" The protagonist of the story says, "Can't you see this? I'm busy trying to knock down this tree. I ain't got no time to sharpen that saw." And of course, the relevant part of the story is that we do this in our own lives sometimes. We can be running so busy. But the question we must ask ourselves is, busy doing what? And that's, the 7th habit of sharpening the saw, or sharpening the sword, for us at Krav Maga Martial Arts, is about making sure that we're taking the time to do the personal development, the leadership development, the professional development in your specific field and calling that makes you sharp so that you can be more effective when you work. And this has been such an important theme in my life, as I said, for about 30 years now. I credit it almost as highly as my belief in God and his blessings in my life with whatever small successes I have enjoyed. And certainly with all of the people I've been able to help and the the confident, competent black belt leaders that we've been able to create has been because of that practice of personal and professional development. But on focusing the focus, my point is this. Number one is what I just said. Make sure that you know what it is, right? Like so one of the productivity hacks I want to share is figure out what you don't know that you need to know. Like in recent history, I've only got good at this in the last couple of years. Instead of just general personal and professional development, I sit down and I say, what's important next for me? So for example, in recent history, it was about team building for me and team development, team selection and training and development, something I'd done for years, but I knew I needed to be better and sharper at. And so I've put a lot of time, attention, and energy to the study of these things. The second hack that I would give around is simply to it's time blocking is what I call it. So for example, I begin my day now 7 to 10 is my coffee time / personal professional development time from on most days. Obviously, there's a few exceptions that I have to start earlier and stuff, but I start production earlier, and then I just moved that earlier. But I have my personal professional development time, and then on the other end, by the way, my meal and relaxation time is 7 to 10. On the other end of the day, 10 to 7 is kind of my work day. And like I said, obviously on some days, for example, Tuesday, I'm here till closing, so it's later. But there's a plan. There's a time blocking. There is a time that I actually allocate formally to personal and professional development, to sharpening the sword. And then hack number 3 is this. It's called NET. I'm pretty sure I learned this from Tony Robbins in a time of personal and professional development. And he calls NET no extra time. And I do this profusely, consummately. Could probably think of a couple more synonyms for what I'm trying to say, which is if I'm driving, I'm listening to something constructive. If I'm like when I do the cardio portion of our workout here in a little bit, because we're going to do some cardio and we're going to do some strength training and we're going to do some martial arts training, it's going to be great. But when I'm doing that for the cardio portion that requires a little less mental focus, I'll have my AirPods in and I will be listening to some great, probably audible at that point in time, right? And this is what I do because that no extra time is time, whether it's cleaning the house or doing your exercise or some other thing that doesn't really require a lot of mental focus. Take that because multitasking, of course, doesn't really work, but this kind does. If it's just a physical activity, and it's a relatively mundane physical activity that doesn't require a lot of focus, it's a great time to put focus on your personal and professional development. Okay, enough on that because I want to talk about the priorities piece. Yeah, I heard how excited I am about training with my boy. I'm always excited anytime I can spend some extra time with any of them because, like probably a lot of other fathers and or mothers, particularly professional fathers and mothers that are chasing a dream or are driven at their work, it's sometimes difficult to get enough of some of the most important time, our highest priorities. Look, every good parent believes that their child is one of their highest priorities, and yet every driven and busy parent also struggles with making sure that I have struggled with making sure my schedule reflects that. So this kind of ties a little bit to the no extra time thing. How exciting when my son agreed to become my workout partner and that 3 days a week we'll meet and do cardio and strength training and martial arts training together. That's going to bring up the level of intensity of my own personal training because my son is a beast, my 18-year-old son that is the head instructor of this school. And it allows me to address one of my highest priorities, which is quality time and sewing into my son. And so what I'm saying is that, and hopefully this is helpful for somebody else. I love it if you shared and told me it was, is that for me, because, as I've explained to some people before, Every day is about deciding what we're going to say no to. I always have more things that I want to do and that I plan to do than I possibly have time. So it's like, what can I allocate? How can I allocate the best and highest use of my time today? And the two things I want to say is sharpening the sword has to be part of it. And I gave you 3 hacks on how to find the time to do that, how to create the time to do that. It's really just how to use the time, because we can't create or find time in reality, but we can um, allocate our resources within time. And then the same for the highest priorities in our life, like our fitness, like our personal professional development, like our kids, like our dreams. So I don't know what yours are, because all of these things are personal in nature. But I think that many of us in this tribe probably share this challenge. And I hope that this has been useful to you. Prepare to live and empower to lead. Have a fantastic Friday. I'm Shian Steve.